So this is going to be a little off topic, especially for my type of channel, which I've said before, my channel is kind of all over the place, but I don't want to ramble on too much, so I'm going to try to get straight to the point. If you guys don't hear from me, hope everyone has a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Don't drink too much, and hope Santa brings you whatever you want. So, as I was saying, so the last video that I did on the whole political side of dating and all that stuff, I want to get straight to the point on this one. So as the title suggests, liberals and conservatives can get along, and I just want to share with you guys a story in my personal life that I think is sort of not necessarily proof, but in a way it also answers sort of my own question in terms of the political sides that I have not really opened up but have talked about. But this is so a gentleman that I worked with, we'll call him Jerry. Why not? So Jerry and I worked the same shifts at my last place of employment, and as I've mentioned before, I try not to get into politics too much, but it should be safe to say that most people, at least if you've seen my channel or know what my channel's about and all that, you should know where I stand politically. And so Jerry is on the sort of opposite side of where I stand in most areas. We've had some friendly debates about certain topics, and I won't get into specifics because I don't want to start any arguments on YouTube. But I typically have more conservative type values, and his are a little more liberal. But after the time that we've worked together, and there was some, of course, downtime, and even when it was hectic, we could still find time to just socialize. Of course, with all of our coworkers and such. But of course, that's retail for you. But we talked a lot. We did debate, and for the most part, we found common ground, and we were able to have civil discussions. And I'm not saying that it's something that all liberals and Democrats can do. I mean, the truth of it is that there's very corrupt people on all ends of the spectrum. There's very corrupt Republicans, and honestly, they can be just as bad as the Democrats. Now, mind you, I am more talking about those that are in power. For the most part, Democrats and liberals that I have met in person are they're really good people. And I'm not saying Democrats are bad people, but as I've said before, I think that we need to rebrand the parties, because these democratic socialists are, I'm sorry, but the socialist and communism is not what needs to be in America. I mean, if they want it so bad, go to China. But though I'm talking about the ones who are in power, they have to be corrupt. And I'm saying the exact same thing about Republicans. I mean, because you also have these blue blood Republicans, and then these other ones who are just as corrupt. All they care about is themselves. They don't care about the American people. They're just after money and their own well-being and all that. But I'm getting off track here. But there's corrupt people all around nonetheless. Generally speaking, just your average citizen that I've met, all kinds. I've met liberals, conservatives, libertarians, people who don't care. I've met everyone at least once, to say the least. And generally speaking, I get along with most people. But I've also come to really discover that it doesn't really even matter so much your political view. It is possible for everyone to just get along. And so Jerry here has different views that I do, but I can also safely and friendly express my ideas and the way I look at things and try to present it from my point of view, and not start like an argument or hate each other. And he does the same thing. He explains how he feels that it should be, or just whatever his perspective is, and I can see for the most part where he's coming from on smaller issues, not so much the bigger ones. But he also does meet in the middle, depending on what the topic is. We do find common ground, and there was so many times that I could bring up a subject say we're debating, and then I say something that's more where we could both compromise, and he usually is like, well, that's true. I never thought of it that kind of way. And we always had civil discussions. There was never any heated, exchange of words or anything like that. And it was it was funny too, because I mean, we did kind of rip on each other sometimes for our political views, but I mean, it was just it was in a friendly manner, because we both have mutual respect for each other, because I'm not forcing anything on him. I'm just presenting how I feel about it, and he does the exact same thing. And it was really surprising, because we found a lot of common ground, and we actually agreed on some policies. I'm not going to say which ones, but there were some things that we both actually really agreed on, and I thought it was very interesting, because he does claim to be more, not far left, but more, deeper on the left side of the red and blue scale. And for the most part, people generally just look at me and say, yeah, you're far right, which I would never claim to be far right, because as I mentioned, the Republican Party can be just as bad in some areas. But again, as I said, I don't know if I said it or not, but a disclaimer, this isn't to start, a war or anything. And I did used to be like that. And, there are some extremely fascist and just deranged people on each side, and I think that we need to stop that. If this world's ever going to get better, we need to stop hating each other, and actually, we need to all come together and try to find some common ground. But you will hear me talk a lot of crap about liberals, and and it stands to reason, because the way I see it is, and again, when I say liberals, I'm meaning these protesters and these ones that don't have a life and running around for social justice and voting for socialism and all this crap, and that was another thing. So Jerry, he wasn't that type. He had a liberal standpoint, but he's there to work. He worked harder than most of the people there, and he had a great work ethic. And it was funny, because he was actually about 10 years older than I was, and it was funny, because you would think most older people would kind of have that, well, I'm older, so I know more, but it wasn't like that at all. And there's some other instances that I could use as an example. My parents are kind of the same way. They work with coworkers that are on the opposite side of the spectrum, but they find common ground and they get along. And I just think that that's important. I think that that's what we should do as far as a country goes. And in all honesty, I think we just need to find a way to where we can come together, because it's the only thing that's going to save this country. But I mean, unfortunately, there's too much hate right now. There's too many corrupt politicians that are just making it worse. And of course, there's unfortunately human beings out there that want to destroy the whole world. They want to turn the whole world against each other and all that. And unfortunately, it's hard not to get into politics all the time. It's hard not to bring anything political into everything that we do, because I think that that's a big reason why so many gaming channels are so big out there, because it's like, hey, we're here to game. Same thing with music, hey, we're here to listen to music, and then none of that crap matters. And what I distinctly remember, the last concert I went to, the Metallica concert last year, he doesn't bring politics to anything, but he just says, we are the Metallica family. We don't care, if, I don't remember exactly word for word, but, if you're straight, gay, black, white, yellow, orange, religious, not really, whatever, we're all a big metal family here, we're all here together. And really, realistically, we need more of that. We need that to just spread around. And just, I mean, if we just continue this hate, it's going to destroy us. I think that even the far right side of people that I have met, especially in the workplace, that agree for the most part, we need to stop the hatred and everything. But it's just so easy, because there's so many brainwashed people out there. And one of the biggest things I think that I wish more liberal citizens would understand is, look, guys, I mean, you can have your political view all you want, but you've got to understand these corrupt politicians do not care about you. They don't care about you. They don't care about me. And in all honesty, I mean, yes, I voted for Trump. I'm not going to apologize for anything. But as you heard, and if you did watch my last video on the bump stocks, he's really disappointing me. But it also just goes to show people like the NRA are not necessarily always on your side. And I've been trying to find some research on what the NRA is actually doing, if they're doing anything to fight for the Second Amendment rights, or if they're just lobbyists collecting all the money that is donated to them so they can sit and live in a mansion. But we're not going to talk about the NRA today, but I'm just throwing that in there. If, on a side note, if anyone knows the truth of that, please let me know, because for the most part I've supported the NRA, but from what I've been hearing, there's a lot of big gun channels that are taking them down and disowning them for the most part. So again, that's a topic for another day. Anywho, so just, back to me and my friend Jerry. We get along, and we're able to, not just at work, but we can hang out and stuff, and our political differences are not an issue, and it's not even the first thing that comes up. We can socialize and have rational discussions. And I'm not saying that it's proof that, hey, look, red and blue can get along. It's like when people say they fight like cats and dogs. Cats and dogs get along too. So, but I just want to try to maybe relieve some of the pressure out there. And for those who maybe miss it, when I'm talking trash about the Democratic Party, I'm more referring to the communist and the socialist, or the democratic socialist, as they like to put it, because there's so many corrupt politicians out there. And another interesting fact too, there was actually some people that I had met at the same Metallica show that on Facebook, they have Democratic Party, but they're very pro-Trump, and I think that that's really interesting. And I really hope Trump doesn't go back on his word. I hope that he makes at least the people who voted for him, at least he makes them happy. And it's so hard to not get into politics, but I know people of all sides of the spectrum who did vote for Trump, but also the same thing on the other side during the 2016 election. But all in all, guys, I think we need to find some way to find common ground, and hopefully maybe one day we can look past this and just kind of laugh at it and, say, wow, that was a crazy ride. So, but those are just my thoughts for the day. Hope you guys have enjoyed. If you have any ideas or any suggestions as to what you would like to see in the future, drop a like, drop a comment. Be sure to sub if you like what you see, and we'll see you in the next video.